What is it like to fly one of these?
Everybody thinks of the destructive nature of a storm, but it's acting on immovable objects. The airplane is a movable object, so although it can be quite uncomfortable at times, we don't really feel like we're in harm's way from the wind. We have our own threats that interact with us, lightning, hail, things like that we have to encounter. We don't really enjoy, but we have to deal with it. But it's a completely different kind of experience than the immovable objects on the ground are experiencing because of the wind.
All right, does this aircraft fly into the middle or does it fly around the edge?
So this one goes right into the middle. It's one of only 12 airplanes in the world allowed to fly into hurricanes. We have 10 of them exactly like this, and then there are 2 P3s that get to fly into the storm as well. We don't, like a lot of people mistakenly think, we don't fly over hurricanes. Nobody cares what's going on at the top of a hurricane. So we're flying as low as we can. Long before it's a hurricane, long before it's newsworthy, we're down as low as 500 feet. As the storm becomes more interesting, because they don't like me to say dangerous, we'll start climbing up a little bit higher. By the time it's a hurricane, we're probably up at about 2,500 feet, never above 10,000 feet. And you figure the top of the storm's at 50 or 60,000 feet. So we're going through it right at the heart of that storm.
All right, so what are you doing at those flight levels?
The mission of the airplane is to gather as much information as we can. So the mission's being directed by our meteorologist in the back of the airplane. Up front, I'm one of the 2 pilots just helping steer it toward the middle of the storm. We're trying to actually pinpoint the center of low pressure, not necessarily the geographic center of the eye. So we're following the directions of the meteorologists. They're looking at pressure and things like that to direct the airplane, but really all I'm trying to do is keep the shiny side pointed up.
How do they gather all this information? What kind of weather instruments are they using as you fly the plane into the center?
Sure, we tell people that we're primarily gathering 2 types of information: a horizontal picture from the airplane itself. The airplane, like most airplanes, have all sorts of sensors. Even a commercial airline will tell you the strength of the wind and the direction. So we have normal sensors that other airplanes have, plus a handful of additional sensors on the airplane, as you might imagine. And so that's gathering horizontal data, but it's only from the flight level where the airplane is. So we also want that vertical picture of the storm underneath the airplane as well. In order to do that, we drop sensors from the airplane. They're about this big, and we shoot them out of what we call a cannon in the back of the airplane. The whole time it's falling, it's sending a stream of information back to us: pressure, temperature, humidity, wind speed, and direction. We're gathering that information, combining it with that horizontal data, and then about every 10 minutes or so sending that via satellite back to the National Hurricane Center.
What's it like knowing that you're flying this aircraft into the middle of hurricanes, which it is dangerous, let's face it, but it's interesting at the same time, and helping to save hundreds or thousands of lives?
Well, I tell you, most of us, because we're an Air Force Reserve unit, are actually from the area where we're based out of, which is in a coastal area. So it is something that's obviously near and dear to our heart. Long before I was a hurricane hunter, I walked in the eye of 2 hurricanes that passed over my hometown. So I know what can happen from a hurricane, like many of us, and you get really a good feeling of getting to participate in what we know is such a worthwhile mission.
All right, any memorable flights that you've had? One that you've flown through quite a few, I assume. Do you know how many off the top of your head?
We track how many times we have penetrated the eye of a hurricane, and I have penetrated 90.
90?
90? Yes.
Any one particular flight that stands out in your mind?
There is actually. About a decade ago, the most violent storm that I've ever been in was Hurricane Dean. This is a very computerized airplane. There's a computer voice. We call her Anne, and she talks to us when the airplane is in a situation she doesn't enjoy. She tells us if our airspeed is wrong or the airplane is tilted too much and those types of things. In Hurricane Dean, I'm pretty sure I heard every word that Anne knows. So she was as uncomfortable as we were, and we were quite ready to head home at the end of that storm.
What was the ride like during...
Very bumpy, and not every storm is that way. It is not the stronger the storm, the bumpier the ride, but Hurricane Dean made landfall as a Category 5, in that as it makes landfall, it tends to become more violent for the airplane, and a lot more up and down, a lot more tornadoes, things like that, which people think we do anything. We do not fly into tornadoes. But that was just a violent storm, and we were, like I said, quite ready to get out of that one.
Have you flown into any that have come up here, like Irene or Sandy?
I flew Sandy, sure did. And in fact, I think one of the last flights in the Sandy as it was making landfall as well.
So it was just transitioning into that post-hurricane.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't follow them over land. There's an added risk to us and a decreased benefit because there's so many land-based ways to find out what's going on. So we fly them right up to the shoreline. So we refer to those as the landfall missions. We don't follow it, but we'll fly back and forth along the coast until even after the eye has gone onto the coast.
All right, one last question for me. How important do you think this is to have these hurricane hunters here to bring awareness to people?
We actually find that this is a very important part of our mission because I'm going to ask my crew to do something that other aviators aren't even allowed to do, and I really don't want them to do that for nothing. I'm going to stop asking them to do it if there's no benefit. So the real benefit is the people at home who are taking heed of the warnings that come from the National Hurricane Center. So I ask people that I meet all the time, hey, I don't mind doing it for you. I don't mind asking my crew to do it for you, but please don't make us do it for nothing.